Hello viewers, welcome to Kids Auto and Truck Repair. Today we have a 2007 Dodge Sprinter, but this Sprinter is an RV and the owner of this vehicle is one of our subscribers here on our YouTube channel. His name is Jay Fuller. Jay Fuller came to our shop with his wife Carla. They actually drive around the country and their RV is really awesome. So they watch our videos. They drove all the way from Texas to bring their vehicle to our shop. So Jay, we're grateful for your business. Thank you for bringing business to us. So the vehicle is parked up front. We're gonna walk to the vehicle. We're gonna take it on a test drive. The vehicle is losing power when he goes up a hill. And then Jay told me to give his RV a once-over. He told me, while you have my vehicle in your shop, check everything and fix everything that it's gonna need. I trust you, Dio. I like your videos. So go ahead and fix everything that the RV needs. So that's what we're gonna do. Before we go outside, I wanna give a shout out to our cameraman Kyler. Thanks for being here. Thank you for the awesome videos that you're producing. So I'm gonna walk with you guys outside. So we're gonna walk to the vehicle. Actually, oh, I don't have the key. Let me grab the key. Let me make sure I have the right key for it. Okay, so here's the key. Let's walk to the RV. Actually, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about this Ford Transit. This is a 2021 Ford Transit. I worked on it. I did brakes on it. I did front and rear rotors and pads. This was fun. I mean, putting the, this has electric park brake. Putting the electric park brake in a service mode was pretty easy, but then deactivating them, putting them back in service was kind of a pain. So I wish I filmed this, but cameraman Kyler wasn't here when I was doing this, so maybe in the future we'll film this. So this is a pretty nice Ford Transit. It's done, so the owner is gonna come pick it up soon. We have a couple vehicles here. We have the Sprinter here, and then we have this Acura. You guys might know this Acura. It needed a catalytic converter. We're gonna order the catalytic converter. This truck came from another subscriber that drove about, I think, 2 hours away. It doesn't start. It's a diesel engine. He told me they lifted the cab. They were doing some work on it, and now it won't start. Same thing with this Mercedes. It came from a shop. They said it died while driving. They replaced the fuel pumps. They replaced the timing chains, I think. It's not running, so we're gonna have to figure that out. So now let's walk to the RV. And then we have that school bus over there. This bus, I heard the owner told me it cranks, but sometimes it doesn't crank. So it's an intermittent no crank. So hopefully we'll get to it by the end of the week. It got dropped off 2 days ago, so we're gonna have to figure out why that bus is not starting. Okay, and then we have a couple projects here too. So I'm excited about this RV. It's really nice. So maybe before we fix it, we might give you guys a little tour. So check it out. You know, it's a Sprinter van, you know, Sprinter 3500. Actually, Jay told me that sometimes when he took this van to some shops while he was coming here, there are shops out there that didn't want to fix this. I was like, really? I mean, it's a Sprinter. You know, if you can fix a Sprinter, you can fix this one as well. So I'm gonna open, I mean, the front looks very similar to, you know, a Sprinter, but let's open the inside. And also I wanna thank Jay, the owner, for giving us permission to film. So he told us, you can go ahead and film my RV, film the inside. So I wanna give you guys a quick tour. Man, I wanna live in this thing. This is nice. So check this out. Nice couch. Oh, man, we can just chill here, you know? Wow, this is nice. There's the bed. Actually, I'm gonna come back here so you can show. Yeah, this is nice. I think there's a light there. There's a way. He showed me how to turn on the light, but I forgot. Can you really see? Is the light good there?
It's not terrible.
I mean, he showed me how to turn on the light, but I don't remember. Sorry, Jay. There are some switches over here. Yeah, that's nice. A little kitchen area. Man. You want something like this, Kyler? Yeah, this is nice. We can just drive across country, you know. A Keats Oro RV. This is nice. I like it. Yeah, really nice. All right, so now let's go. Let's check out under the hood. I'm gonna close the door. So it has a 3.0 liter engine. Let me pop the hood. Okay, so this is the engine. All right, so now let's go in the vehicle. I'm going to get the scan tool connected. We're gonna scan the engine computer and see what codes we have. And after that, we're gonna take the vehicle on a test drive. So now let's go in the vehicle. I have my scan tool connected to the van. I'm gonna start the engine. So as you can hear, the engine is running. This van has 38,000 miles, 955. Wow. This vehicle doesn't have a lot of miles. Okay. So I'm gonna show you guys the dash. So as you can hear, the engine is running and we don't have a light on the dash. Okay, let's see if we have any pending codes in the engine computer. All right, I'm gonna turn off the engine. I'm gonna turn the key on. Let's see if we have some codes in the engine computer. That's a great question. The only difference is just different companies, but they pretty much use the same engines. It's actually Dodge partnered with Mercedes in around the 2000, like 2007, 2008. They were making them together. So Mercedes was making the engine, and then Dodge was making the body, I believe. And then so Mercedes kept making them, and Dodge. No, I think it was Dodge was buying the engines from Mercedes. They were putting them in their van. And then eventually they went separate ways because Mercedes kept making them afterwards. But the Dodge Sprinters stopped being made around 2008, 2009. So it's basically the same thing. So I guess the short answer would be Dodge and Mercedes were working together at some point. And then it didn't work out, and then they went separate ways. Okay, so 2007, so the scan tool has identified the vehicle. We're gonna click OK. Let's do a code scan. Although the check engine light is not on, let's scan. Oh, so right off the bat, we have 4 trouble codes in the engine computer. What's interesting is that the check engine light is not on. So the first code is 2853. It says invalid code. This code can be ignored and erased. Okay, that's interesting. And then, actually, that was a good question, Kyler. You know, we should, I think someone mentioned that yesterday when we were doing our live stream. You guys should be mic'd up. Yeah. You know, yeah, you should have a mic, and even Matt too. Because then when we're filming, if you have a question, you can just ask it. Because your question can benefit someone on our community. Someone can have the same question. Anyways, so second code is 2510, boost pressure regulator control positioner error. Okay, now this code is usually caused by a defective actuator on the turbo. I'm very familiar with these codes, and the customer said that the vehicle is losing power. So a boost pressure regulator error would cause the van to lose power. And then the third code is 3137. It says diesel particulate filter pressure differential too low. Interesting. Now, I know some of these vans, people tamper with the aftermarket, with the after treatment system, and that can cause that too. So we're gonna have to check that to see if the DPF was not hollowed if people didn't remove the substrate of the DPF, because pressure too low could be caused. Pressure too low could also be caused by a torn rubber that goes between the DPF tube and the DPF pressure differential sensor. So we're gonna have to do some tests to figure out what's going on. And then the last code is 2359, charge pressure control, boost pressure too low. Okay, so we have this kind of the same code listed twice. Well, no, the first one is about the regulator, and then the last one is the boost. So the boost pressure is too low. So low boost code. So let's scroll down and see what else we have. We have 0 codes in this control unit. We have 1 code in the HVAC control unit. It says 9301 blend air door control circuit performance. And then we have no codes on the generic side of the tool. So based on the codes that we have, it looks like we have 2 issues. We have a low boost code and we have a DPF code, okay? The pressure differential is too low. So let's focus on the low boost code first. Let's go into the engine computer. Okay, let's read the codes again. So what I want to do now is I want to go on a test drive and I want to look at my boost pressure data PID as we are driving. But before we do that, let's look at some DPF data PIDs. Let's look at the soot level in the DPF. So soot content, so hash mass load is 0 grams. Soot mass in particulate filter is 0. So current particulate filter load is 0.83. And then exhaust differential is minus 0.04. Interesting. So I don't really see a number that's alarming here, but we'll have to do some tests and figure out what's going on. So let's back out. We might have to check the pressure differential sensor on the DPF to make sure that it's working well. So let's go to boost PSI control. Let's graph our boost pressure data PID. Okay, so now let's go on a test drive. I'm gonna start the engine. So right now at idle, we have 984 HPA. Let me rev up the engine. Okay, so when we rev the engine here, the maximum boost we're building is 1600 HPA. Okay, so I'm gonna put the scan tool over here. Cameraman Kyler is going to put the scan tool up for you guys to see. So let's go for a spin. I'm gonna pay attention on how the vehicle is driving, and then we're gonna watch our boost pressure to see how much boost we're gonna build under a load. Let's make sure cameraman Kyler gets his seatbelt on. Okay, safety first. All right. It's interesting how there's a front camera. This is a front camera, but there's no back camera. Unless you can switch it.
I can switch.
It's showing me the front, but it's not showing me the back. I'm like, I want to see the back, not the front. Interesting. Okay, cool. There's a little hill up there that I like to go to if I'm testing a Sprinter. Okay, now we're building boost. I mean, yeah, I like the kind of boost we're building. That's good. Now, the whole RV shell is also heavy, so that may cause it to kind of lose power a little. I don't know. Maybe it's just there's a little delay. Yeah, we're gonna have, I mean, so far so good. It's not too bad because this is a pretty big vehicle. Mr. J is staying in town. Mr. J is the owner of this RV. So Mr. J, I appreciate you. Thank you for your business. He's staying in Frederick for a little bit while we are fixing his RV. So I'm flooring the accelerator pedal right now. Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay. I mean, based on what I saw on the scan tool, we were building a decent amount of boost. This is interesting. So we built a decent amount of boost while we were driving. So the maximum boost we built was 2600. Okay, I can't really see on the other side. Are we good?
Yeah, good.
Now, since we have an actuator code, we might have a turbo actuator that's failing intermittently. Because right now, I like the boost pressure that we're building. The boost pressure that the turbo is building is good right now. I don't see a problem with this. You know, and since the check engine light is not on right now, so I believe whatever that caused the codes to be set is not present right now. So it's an intermittent issue. Because when we were climbing up this hill, I looked at the boost pressure. We were around 2200 HPA while we were coming up this little hill. So we're gonna go up this hill over here. Kyler, I don't know if the camera will be able to pick that up, but you guys can see. We're going up the hill. I'm flooring the accelerator pedal. We're building about 2200 HPA. All right, so here's what I wanna do. Let's drive back to the shop. We're gonna check the turbo actuator, and we're also gonna give the vehicle a once over while we have the vehicle in the shop. And then I'm also gonna check the pressure differential sensor for the DPF to see if it's working properly, and then we'll go from there. Because right now, I'm kind of confused why we have boost codes, because we are building enough boost. And the other thing we could do is we can also, I don't hear a boost leak under the hood. I don't hear it. Usually when you have a boost leak, you will hear a hissing sound coming from under the hood. I don't hear it. But what we also might have to do is we can use our smoke machine and smoke the induction system to see if we have a boost leak somewhere. Yeah, so right now as I'm revving up the engine, yeah, so our maximum boost right now is 2500 HPA. Yeah, okay, cool. This is enough data. I already gathered enough data. Actually, let me graph the exhaust pressure differential data pid. On the differential pressure data pid, the maximum pressure that we built in the exhaust system was 1.84 psi. I mean, the RV is picking up some speed, but I feel like I have to hold the accelerator pedal long enough to the floor for the RV to pick up some speed. Once we get back to the shop, I will bring you guys back up so we can do some testing to figure out what's going on. So see you guys at the shop. We are in the shop, so now let's do some tests so we can figure out what's going on with this Sprinter van. I have my smoke machine over here. I also have my Autel scan tool connected to the vehicle. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna check the actuator on the turbo. The key is on in the vehicle. Let's do a code scan on this one. While this is doing that, I'm gonna grab a flat screwdriver. Okay, so we have pretty much the same codes in the engine computer. Okay, these are the codes that we saw on our snap-on scan tool. So let's go into the engine computer. Let's go to active test. Now, I prefer the Autel scan tool when it comes to active test on Sprinter vans than the snap-on one. So let's check the boost pressure control. So we're gonna turn the actuator on and off. So now I am going to move the air filter box out of the way. So I'm gonna undo this clamp. I mean, you guys have seen me do this here on the channel. I'm not gonna disconnect the mass airflow sensor yet because I don't want us to have codes for mass airflow sensor in the engine computer while we're doing this test. And also I wanna mention that there were covers over here that I did remove. So there was a cover that was covering this, the top of the engine, and then there was a cover on the passenger side valve cover. So we did remove those covers off camera. So cameraman Kyler, if you can, do you see this? Okay, this is kind of what we were checking on that blue Mercedes, remember?
I do.
Kind of same thing. Yeah, so I am going to turn on this actuator with the scan tool. If this actuator is good, when I turn it on, this lever should move up and down. So here we go. Goes up, down. Okay. That's what I thought, because we were building enough boost when we were test driving the vehicle, so the actuator is working. Okay, lever goes up, down, up, down. Although there's a little noise coming from it. All right, so we're done. The lever on the actuator goes up and down, which tells me that the wiring of the actuator is good. And since it's moving up and down smoothly, that also tells me that the actuator is good. So wiring is good, actuator is good. So now what's the problem? Why do we have the, actually let's look at the code again. Why do we have a boost positioner regulator error? So the only thing I can think about is maybe it's failing intermittently, okay, because we have the same code here, 2510-1. It says boost pressure regulator positioner signals fault. So, I mean, this must be an intermittent issue because it's working now. You know, I've seen these actuators fail intermittently. It's a bummer that it's not failing right now. So here's what I'm gonna do. Now we're gonna use our smoke machine. We're gonna smoke the induction system to see if we have a leak between the turbo outlet and the intake manifold. If we don't have a leak, then I'm gonna recommend replacing that actuator because I don't see what else that can cause this. You know, we have a low boost code. All right, so let's see. Now I'm gonna go in the vehicle and turn off the key. Actually, I'm gonna check the filter. The filter doesn't look, I mean, you guys won't see this. I'm looking through this opening here. The air filter doesn't look too dirty. We might have to replace it, but because if you have a restricted air filter, that can cause the vent to lose power as well, but the filter is not restricted. So I'm gonna turn the key off. Okay, so the actuator is good. Let's get the air filter box out of the way. All right, let me stop this. Let's stop the communication with our scan tool. So now we're going to use our smoke machine. Let's send some smoke down the induction system and see what happens. Because if we have a boost leak somewhere in the induction system, that will also cause the van to lose power. Now, I don't think we have a boost leak because I didn't hear it. Usually when there's a boost leak somewhere, you can pretty much hear it when you rev up the engine. So I'm gonna use this bladder. We're gonna put it over here on the inlet tube. Okay, I'm gonna connect my air line to the smoke machine. So we're gonna power our smoke machine. Okay, I'm gonna turn on my smoke machine. So we should see smoke coming out of this tube. Okay, so right here, our smoke machine is working. So now we're gonna connect it to this bladder. And then we're gonna observe and see if we have a leak somewhere. Let's see if smoke is gonna come out of somewhere here. So our smoke machine has been on for a little bit now. I don't see a leak around the induction system. So if cameraman Kyler can focus around the engine here. So we don't see a leak, but I see a little bit of smoke coming out of this area. Oh, check this out. So it looks like we just found another problem here. I don't know how well the camera is picking this up. So there's smoke leaking between the cylinder head and the vacuum pump. And there's a bolt that's missing over here. And this area is wet. Okay, you see oil around this area. Look at my finger. Okay, so my finger just got wet by touching around this area. So the vacuum pump gasket is leaking. Now this smoke is leaking from this area because smoke is going through the crankcase and leaking out over here. So let's not get carried away by this. We are focusing on the induction system. So we don't have a leak over here. Now, if I open this filler cap, even the dipstick tube, you see there's smoke coming out of this. So look at this. Yeah, we got smoke there. So that is because we have smoke going down this tube and it's going through the PCV tube, and that's what's causing smoke to go into the crankcase. Now, I have another tube here that I want to test, because if that's confusing, I have a testing tube. So it's a similar tube, but I blocked the opening where the PCV tube goes. So let me turn off our smoke machine for now. Okay, so we're gonna install our testing tube to the turbo and then see what happens. So I'm gonna remove this. So I'm gonna disconnect this tube. So I can just push this out of the way like that. And then we're gonna, so since this is blocked, so we're gonna install this one now. Okay, so that's gonna prevent smoke from going into the crankcase. So all the smoke we're gonna send will go into the induction system. And hopefully we can see if there's a leak somewhere. Okay, so that's tightened. We're gonna install our bladder right there. Same process. We're gonna turn on our smoke machine. Okay. All right. So now we're gonna do the same thing. Let's wait a little bit. Let's give smoke some time to go through the induction system. We're gonna check up here first, and then we're gonna go under the van. Okay. Let me get this out. So Kyler, can you see this okay? Mm-hmm. Yeah, check this out. We got some fingers here. Somebody's giving us the middle finger. Anyways, yeah, so we're gonna watch. Let's wait a little bit to see if smoke is gonna come out of somewhere. I don't see smoke coming out of anywhere. We might have to go under the vehicle to see if we have a leak around the charger cooler. Yeah, so this is kind of what I thought, because when we went on a test drive, I didn't hear a hissing sound. So usually when there's a boost leak and you drive the vehicle, you're gonna hear a hissing sound coming from somewhere, which I didn't hear. So I doubt it that there is a leak somewhere around the induction system. Okay, so I don't see anything over here. So now let's go under the vehicle and see if we have a leak around the charger cooler. The first thing I noticed is we have a huge oil leak over here. So if cameraman Kyler can show this leak. So usually when I see a lot of oil under the engine. The issue, from experience, the issue ends up being a leaking oil cooler. So maybe the oil cooler is leaking. We're gonna have to check that. I looked around the charger cooler here. We don't have a leak around the charger cooler. Our smoke machine is still on. Everything over here, besides the oil leak, everything over here looks good. It's also wet around this area, so it looks like the oil level sensor is also leaking. So we're gonna have to replace the O-ring for the oil level sensor. Yeah, look how much oil we have around the alternator. Dang, that's a lot of oil. Now, what we need to figure out is the oil coming from the oil cooler or is it coming from somewhere else? Because it's wet around this area, but the driver's side is not really wet. So cameraman Kyler, if you can come over here on the driver's side and show this side. So as you can see, the driver's side doesn't look too bad. It's the passenger side that's bad. So the driver's side is pretty dry. I am also going to look down here around the charger cooler to see if the charger cooler is leaking. I mean, it's not. We don't have a leaking charger cooler. Okay, so no boost leaks that we can see. So that's good. Let's go back under the hood. Let me make sure our smoke machine is still pumping smoke throughout the induction system. Okay, so we don't have a leak, guys. I don't see a leak here. Okay, I mean, I guess that's a good thing. So I believe our oil leak is coming from the vacuum pump gasket. Because, I mean, the camera is not going to be able to see this, but I'm looking between the intake manifolds to see if the oil cooler is wet, but it's not. So I might have to use a camera down there between the intake manifolds so we can look at the oil cooler. Yeah, so, and can you see around here, Kyler? Yeah, you see how wet this is? So it looks like this cap is also leaking. So the gas, the seal on the oil filler cap is leaking. So we might have to replace this cap. And then since we have a missing bolt over here, I'm also gonna recommend replacing the vacuum pump seal. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We don't have a boost leak, which I kind of thought we don't have because I didn't hear it. So we are done with our smoke machine. I'm gonna get our smoke machine out of the way. Okay, we don't have a leak here. So I'm gonna get my smoke machine out of the way and then I'm gonna bring up a camera so we can look around the oil cooler to see if we have a leaking oil cooler. If the oil cooler is not leaking, then I'll tell you what we're gonna do next. So let me grab my camera and then I'll be back. All right, so we're gonna use our camera here. Look how cool this camera is to check our oil cooler. So cameraman Kyler is gonna put what I'm seeing over here on the screen for you guys so you can see. Okay, so everything down here is dry. I don't see a leak over here. Okay, look at our oil cooler. Yeah, there's the oil cooler down there. Yeah, check that out. Yeah, no, we don't have a leaking oil cooler. I mean, I was gonna be surprised if I saw oil around the oil cooler because this vehicle doesn't have a lot of miles. Yeah, so our oil leak is not coming from the oil cooler. Let me see if I can put the camera down from this angle over here. Yeah, check this out. This is clean. Yeah, so no oil leaks around the oil cooler. Yeah, that's the bolt for the oil cooler right there. All right, So we're good. Our oil cooler is not leaking. I believe the leak that we have is coming from the vacuum pump. The vacuum pump gasket is leaking. I mean, not that I believe, I'm sure that's what it is, because we have oil over here around the vacuum pump and we have a missing bolt over here. So here's what I'm gonna do. To fix this, what I'm gonna recommend is replacing the turbo actuator. Although it's moving up and down, I'm gonna go based on the code that we have. Since the actuator is moving up and down, I don't need to check the wiring. The wiring is good. From experience, I've seen these actuators fail intermittently. So sometimes they work, and sometimes while you're driving, they stop working, and then they cause low boost codes to be set in the engine computer. So I'm gonna recommend replacing the actuator. We're gonna reseal the vacuum pump. So I'm gonna replace the bolts for the vacuum pump and the gasket for it. And that will take care of the oil leak, because we saw the oil cooler is not leaking. So we're almost done with our diagnosis. The last thing I wanna check is the DPF pressure differential sensor. So let's go under the vehicle and check the DPF pressure differential sensor. If the pressure differential sensor is good, then I'm gonna go ahead and make an estimate about replacing the gasket for the vacuum pump, and then also replacing the actuator on the turbo. And I'm also gonna replace this oil cap. I believe this cap is leaking too. So the seal on the cap is worn out. We're gonna replace this oil cap as well, okay? So now let's go under the vehicle so we can check the DPF pressure sensor. So we're doing this on jack stands, so we have limited space. And I hope cameraman Kyler can see all this stuff. So this is our DPF, and up here is the DPF pressure differential sensor. So Kyler, can you see this tube? Yes. Awesome. So I'm going to disconnect this tube. So we're gonna disconnect the clamp over here. Okay. And then I'm gonna disconnect this tube from the metal tube, so we can check our differential pressure sensor. My hand might be in the way, I apologize. So we're gonna undo this bracket, because what we need to figure out is it the DPF that's defective, or is it the sensor that's sending a skewed signal to the engine computer? So we got this bracket removed, so I can just bend this. Nice. Okay, now I'm looking at the hoses that go to the pressure differential sensor. Both hoses look fine. We don't have torn hoses. And also I'm looking at these tubes. We don't have a broken tube or a cracked DPF tube. So that's good. So now I have my scan data pulled up. So we're looking at cameraman Kyle is laughing at me. You're laughing at me holding my hand. So we have scan data pulled up. I'm looking at the exhaust differential PSI data PID on the scan tool. I'm gonna use this pressure pump. So this is a vacuum pump / pressure pump. So if you turn this way, you set it up to vacuum. If you turn it this way, you set it up to pressure. So I'm gonna connect this line. Okay, I'm gonna connect this line to the line that goes to the pressure differential sensor. So I'm gonna connect it. We're connecting it to the big line, by the way, the big line that goes in front of the DPF. Okay, it's right there. Let's see if I can get this light. If I can get this light to stay here. Nice. Okay, so now you guys will focus on the scan tool. I'm going to send pressure down that tube. As I'm sending pressure down the tube, our data PID on the scan tool should change. And as I'm doing this, the pressure is changing on the scan tool, and we're holding pressure on this gauge over here, so which tells me that the hose is not leaking and the sensor is good, because we have 15 psi on the data pid, and we also have about 15 psi on this gauge. So our pressure differential sensor is good. So I'm gonna release the pressure. We're gonna pump this again. Okay, our pressure should increase smoothly. As you can see, the pressure is rising on the scan tool smoothly. We don't have any dropouts. Yeah, so that's good. I'm gonna release this again. All right, so we don't have to test the wiring of the pressure differential sensor. Pressure differential sensor is good. We don't have a clogged DPF. Also, based on the soot level and the hash content that we have in the DPF, this is fine. I don't know why we have a DPF code in the engine computer. We might have to erase those codes and test drive the vehicle and see what happens. So we're gonna leave this alone. The sensor is good. Okay, so now let's go back under the hood. So we are done with our diagnosis. The pressure differential sensor for the DPF, based on the data and the test that I did, based on the data that we got, the sensor is good. We don't have to check the wiring. You know, the sensor is reporting to the engine computer, and we can see the data change, the graph value change on the scan tool. So the sensor is good. I might recommend a DPF clean on this one. We can clean the DPF with our DPF cleaner because, again, our customer Jay told us to take care of everything that this vehicle needs. So at this point, here's what I'm going to recommend. I'm going to recommend, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I'm going to say this again, just to recap before we wrap up this video. So this is going to be the diagnosis part of this RV. And then we might do part 2 about the repairs that I'm going to perform on this vehicle. So we're going to reseal the vacuum pump, which is causing the leak. So the vacuum pump gasket is leaking. We're going to reseal that. We're going to replace the bolts for it. And then we're going to reseal the oil level sensor below the oil pan. And then we are also going to replace the actuator. Some of you might say, why are you replacing the actuator? I'm going based on my experience. I've worked on a lot of these, you know, based on the symptom and the codes and the way this is acting up. I mean, I can guarantee that it needs a turbo actuator. So we're going to replace the actuator, and then we're going to clean the DPF with DPF cleaner. After that, we're going to take this on a test drive and see what happens. The other thing I want to mention is I looked around the oil filter housing to see if there is a leak around it. There's no leaks around the oil filter housing, so that's good. We don't have a leak there. So we're also going to do an oil change. Mr. J told me that the coolant was flashed not too long ago, and the fuel filter was replaced not too long ago. The fuel filter looks new, so I'm not going to change it. And then since the coolant flash was done not too long ago, we're going to leave it alone. And we're also going to do a transmission flash. So we're going to change transmission fluid filter, and transmission oil pan gasket. Now, some stuff I am going to do off camera. We have worked on a lot of the Sprinter vans here on our channel. So if you want to know how we're going to change the transmission filter and the transmission fluid, I recommend you watch my transmission filter replacement video or transmission fluid replacement video. I have, I think, 1 or 2 videos here on the channel about that. And then about the actuator, same thing. If you want to know how I'm going to replace the actuator, I recommend you watch that video. I have a couple of videos here on the channel where I'm showing how to replace the turbo actuator. We might show you how I'm going to reseal the vacuum pump. That's what we might film, but everything else I will do off camera. So I'm going to leave this right over here. I hope you like the video. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumb down. But if you do, tell us why so we can make better videos in the future. If you are not a subscriber, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Cameraman Kyler, thanks for being here. See you guys next time.